Hello everyone. Now if I look very similar to what I did in the last video, it's because I'm still in the same traffic jam. Yes, I as people may or may not know or may not be aware by the accent and the fact I'm wearing a Stone Island jacket, sorry about that. I'm an Essex lad and I'm currently sat on the A12, so any local Essex people will understand the sheer unadulterated pain of the A12 during rush hour. Yes, so if my face looks particularly flush, I'm still off the booze. It's because basically it's just the brake lights of the Land Rover Defender in front of me. Yes, so there you go. But anyway, as I mentioned in my last video, or what could feasibly be my next video, depending on which order I upload them in, I want to talk about GA, about Gamblers Anonymous, because strangely, it's one of those things that if you told someone who hasn't been a gambler or hasn't experienced gambling addiction or doesn't know much about it, and you were to tell them, particularly a loved one, that you were suffering from a gambling addiction, there is a very good chance that their reaction would be, well, go to GA. It's very much in the same way that Alcoholics Anonymous has become kind of the default go-to option for people suffering from alcoholism or from problem drinking. So why don't I like GA? Now, I must stress at this point that the opinions in this video are exactly that. They are my opinions. They're not, they're not to be taken, hard and fast. They are, GA has helped an awful lot of people. If you're starting out in your recovery and you have an option to go to a GA meeting, then go to a GA meeting. Try it. I said in my last video, or one of my videos, I don't know, I lose track, one of my more recent videos, the way I've succeeded in quitting gambling so far is by not relying on one thing, not relying on the counselling, not relying on the blocks, not relying on willpower, relying on everything, doing everything I can do, taking every bit of advice, trying everything, putting everything in place that I can, doing the free counselling, putting the blocks in place, handing my finances over, changing my bank account, self-exclusions, computer blocks, everything you hear about quitting gambling I have done. So if someone said, well, what's the most important factor when quitting gambling? What's the most powerful tool in quitting gambling? I wouldn't be able to tell you. I really wouldn't be able to tell you because I've done it all. But why don't I like GA? Well, personally, I'm going to go on about this, sorry, this probably won't be the last time I say it, it wouldn't work for me. Now, for those of you who aren't new to the channel, who've been watching my videos for a while, you saw there I had a relapse about 4 months ago, from which I am now clear, gamble free for about that 4 months. But I had a relapse about 4 months ago, and at that time I took a hiatus from making YouTube videos. I stopped making YouTube videos, and the reason was that I was staying involved in gambling, even through making YouTube videos, trying to help people to quit, even sharing my experiences, talking about gambling in a negative light, talking about quitting. I was still maintaining that interest. I still had gambling on my mind, in my consciousness, so much more than was healthy at the time. I was trying. Don't want to sound like a martyr, but I think I was really keen to try and help other people. Before realistically I'd helped myself enough. So I was, talking about gambling, thinking about gambling, while I was editing the videos, and yes, these videos are sometimes edited, not this one. And it was keeping gambling in my consciousness, which made it all that much harder to quit. I've spoken before about, the way I like to think about my recovery. I'm never going to stop doing the finger thing. The way I like to think about my recovery is turning myself from a gambler into a non-gambler, not being a gambling addict forever in recovery. And that's possibly the first reason I don't like GA. It's because it involves you basically confessing to being a compulsive gambler or a gambling addict and saying that you're going to be that way for the rest of your life. Now, I know that for the rest of my life, if I gamble, there's a very good chance it will get very out of control very quickly. So that's why I have to remain a non-gambler, because I know that if I started gambling, there's a good chance, a very, very good chance, in fact a very high chance, that I would start gambling again uncontrollably, and that would cause a real problem. But I don't want to walk around the rest of my life with this label around my neck saying I'm a gambling addict. You know, I'm a gambling addict in recovery, because it really casts a very, very negative light on you. It basically saying you have a fundamental flaw in your personality. You have, you know, this fundamental underlying brokenness that you can never escape from. And even now, 4 months clear of gambling, I'm really, really pleased with my achievements. You know, I'm not here to pat myself on the back, but I'm very, very pleased that I'm 4 months clear of gambling. I'm very, very pleased with what I've achieved so far. So I think the idea of saying, oh no, but I'm still the same guy, you know, I'm still the same broken gambling addict, and that I'll never escape that, I don't think that's healthy. I don't think it's healthy to label yourself that way. I have other problems with GA as well. There is the religious connotation, of course, that, you know, the idea is that gambling and gambling addiction, the same as it is with AA and alcohol addiction, that this problem, this issue you have, is so powerful. The gambling demon is so powerful that it's not something that we can beat ourselves, and that we have to take this problem, we have to take this addiction, and we have to hand it over to a higher power. We have to hand it over to God to help us, you know, maintain abstinence, to maintain our recovery. Now, the issue I have with this is pretty straightforward. I am a devout atheist, if there is such a thing. I think I have fundamental issues with religion. I certainly have fundamental issues with religion's involvement in matters like this, because not only you asking a higher power to solve your problems, you're also, in a way, divulging. No, that's not the word, is it? Divulging isn't the word. What's the word? You're relieving yourself. Once again, I've just changed the word because I can't think of the word that I meant. It's been a long day. You are relieving yourselves of personal responsibility and claiming that there is something that's much more powerful than you. Now, we all know as gamblers that, you know, trying to quit gambling, trying to stop gambling solely using willpower, whilst it has been done, it's very, very, very rarely successful. However, turning around and confessing and saying that this is something that's far more powerful than you, and needs this higher power to come along and help you resolve, you are, you know, basically you're ridding yourself of personal responsibility. And certainly in the early stages of quitting gambling, you need to take personal responsibility, because you need that, to use that and harness that to put the practical blocks in place to stop yourself from gambling in the first place. My next issue, and this is going back to what I said about the beginning about my hiatus, I think I got a little bit sidetracked from YouTube, was that you will be surrounding yourself on a regular basis. If you regularly go to GA meetings, you will be surrounding yourself by fellow gamblers. Now, there's two major issues with that. The first issue I can see is that, as I mentioned previously, it really keeps gambling in your conscious. And I believe that any addiction, you know, quitting and staying abstinent is mainly about reprogramming your subconscious. Now, I'm not going to go into too much depth about the psychology of it, firstly because I'm not a psychologist, and pretty much everything I'm saying is regurgitated from something I've heard from someone far cleverer than myself. But it keeps it in your consciousness, and you're then in a constant battle with your consciousness, because let's face it, we, you know, whether or not it's good for us, whether or not we really enjoy it, our brain wants to gamble, and keeping gambling there, right at your frontal cortex, or what the hell it's called, you know, and then trying to battle against it and saying, yeah, gambling, and then, you know, the other bit of your brain, the quitting bit of your brain, going, no, don't gamble. You're in a constant battle, you know, with your conscious part of your brain, of which gambling is sat there because you're talking about it all the time, and the other conscious bit of your brain. And not only that, that then just completely wipes out most of the conscious part of your brain from doing other things, because our conscious brain can't do that much at once. And if part of it's thinking about gambling and the other part of it is battling against gambling and telling you not to gamble, there's not an awful lot of room left in there for, work, leisure activities, talking to your wife. I mean, if you've got that battle going on in your head, I can't imagine that. And then trying to get some stuff done and arrange a meeting at work, or then going home and talk to my wife about her day, because there's too much going on there. So distancing yourself from gambling and distancing yourself from other gamblers and talking about it and thinking about it constantly, is, I think, certainly a significant part of recovery. And that's why I've left it such a long time from doing, YouTube videos. I'd like to think now that my subconscious is starting to get there. But if for 1 second I think that my consciousness is there and gambling is there, after I switch the camera off, go home and have my dinner, if gambling is still there, then I'll stop doing these videos, because, that's not good for you. And that's why I don't think it's good to sit around and talk about gambling. Now, the second reason I think that it's not a good idea to sit around and talk about gambling is because, all right, let's use an Alcoholics Anonymous example for this, because basically the program is the same, the theology is the same, the 12 steps are the same. But I'm just going out on a wing here, just to sort of break it from the gambling for a minute. You go to, I at the moment, as we know, have stopped drinking for a little bit. This is an undetermined period of time. I'm not saying I'm giving up forever, blah, blah, blah. My drinking equated to probably the equivalent of 5 or 6 pints a night, most nights, which is a lot. That is quite a lot of alcohol, which is why I've got the flabby bit around my chin and, not as thin and healthy as I should be, right? So I think that's a lot. If I thought I've got a real drinking problem here, and someone, probably well-meaning, goes, you should try AA. And I go to an AA meeting. And the first thing is, you sit around in a circle and I say, oh, Phil, I'm an alcoholic, whatever. And then, you sit and you listen to other people's stories. You listen to, this guy who's drinks 2 litres of vodka a day. You drink to the other guy who's, lost his home, lost his family, lost his kids, lost his job, is drinking strong cider out of a brown paper bag on a park bench. Now, I'm using cliches here, but, you hear about the woman who put sherry on her cornflakes. All these cliches, which are based on real things. These are things that people do. Maybe not sherry. I don't know whether sherry would go with cornflakes. Baileys with cornflakes. Now, that'd be nice. But no, anyway, you hear these real extreme examples and you think to yourself, hang on a minute, maybe my 5-6 pints of Stella a day isn't really a problem. Maybe actually I'm all right. It's these guys, these are the ones with the real problems. They're the ones that are, doing the real damage. They're the ones with the real issues. And I think the same can be said for GA. There might be people who have lost their houses, lost their kids, lost their wives, lost their jobs, stolen, been arrested, stolen from work, been arrested, been in trouble, blah, 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 all these other things that, gambling can lead to. And you're there thinking, well, actually, I've only got the one credit card, I only play the fob teas and the bookies. I've never stolen. I've got a job, I've got a wife. Maybe I don't have a problem. And you can convince yourself that actually you might be all right, when before walking into that meeting, you were probably pretty convinced you had an issue, which is why you're there in the first place. So I mean, in principle, they are my main objections to GA. Now, like I said at the opening of this video, is just because I don't believe in GA, just because I think it's flawed, I don't like the ideology, I don't like the religious elements, and I don't believe in it. I personally wouldn't benefit from the group therapy thing. If you're in the early stages of trying to quit gambling, and I am still in relatively early stages, and you've tried things and they haven't worked and you've relapsed and you're bouncing backwards and forwards, then there's no harm in giving Gamblers Anonymous a try. There's no doubt in my mind that Gamblers Anonymous has saved a lot of people from this addiction and has probably saved lives. So I'm not discrediting it in that effect. I'm just saying why I don't believe that it's the right way for me, and it may not be the right way for you. So likewise, if you've tried Gamblers Anonymous and it hasn't worked and you've relapsed and you've gone back to gambling, then don't give up. It's not a case of, oh, I tried this, if I can't do it. It's not doable because I tried Gamblers Anonymous, which is seen as the way to do it, and I failed. No. That was one way. That's one way to try and quit gambling. And yeah, it may not have succeeded for you. That doesn't mean that you can't quit gambling. It just means that Gamblers Anonymous wasn't the way. Have a look through my videos. Have a look through other videos on YouTube. You know, get advice. Get the counselling from Break Even. Go to GamCare. Just explore. Read a lot. You know, watch other people's videos. Read everything you can about gambling addiction. You know, try everything. Just the practical stuff, the blocks and all of that, but also, you know, the re-education, the trying to reprogram your subconscious, because I personally think that's all important. Anyway, I've started rambling. I'm still stuck in this bloody traffic jam. Yes, you may well see a third video on the bounce with me wearing this hat and starting the same traffic jam. So anyway, for now, you know, I always forget, I should always beg for subscribers at the beginning of a video, because very few people make it to the end because I ramble so much. But anyway, if you have got this far, thank you very much for watching. Please do subscribe, turn the notification bell on, like the video, all that stuff, all that good stuff that people always ask you to do in YouTube videos. It really does actually help us, to be fair. It's not just it's not vanity, it just helps the reach of the video, and I'd like to reach a few more people if possible. But yeah, on that note, I'm off. Have a nice day, evening, night, whatever, whenever you see this video, and I'll catch up with you on the next one. See you later, guys.